Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. On today's episode, we're going to hop over the pond and we're going to talk about Prince Andrew, aka the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family, aka the Prince of Punk Asses, and the fact that a royal expert thinks he should be seen as little as possible. Well, I think that's good advice. Nobody wants to see this moron unless he's coming to speak with the authorities about his role within Jeffrey Epstein's criminal enterprise. Unless he is ready to come forward and speak about what he did to Virginia Roberts, nobody wants to hear from you. So hide behind mummy's skirts and enjoy your groundation. This article is from The Express. The headline, Royal Warning, Prince Andrew should be seen as little as possible. This article was authored by Frederica Miller. Prince Andrew, 60, traditionally takes pride of place next to the Queen on Buckingham Palace balcony for her Trooping the Colour official birthday celebrations every year. Again, Trooping the Colour? This is like something that's celebrated over in England, huh? I don't know anything about these monarchist traditions. So when I hear stuff like Trooping the Colour, what I see are a bunch of these weird-ass royals out there self-aggrandizing and celebrating themselves. That's pretty much what it is, right? When you get down to it, that's basically what they're doing. That's all they ever do. I don't know. For me, from where I'm sitting, I'm done with all sorts of monarchies. There should be no monarchies that have any sort of power in this day and age. The power should be within the hands of the people at all times, always. While the traditional parade has been canceled due to coronavirus, a mini military display is due to take place at Windsor Castle on June 13th instead. Now, do the taxpayers pay the bill for that? Or my English listeners out there, do you guys pay the bill for that? You guys are footing the bill, or does that come out of the Queen's treasury? Because I know if I was a taxpayer in England, I wouldn't want one single dollar being given to these royals. Not 1 cent. Never mind for some jackassery like this. Considering what's going on in the world, that money could be far better put to use. Some may wonder whether Windsor-dwelling royal family members, including Prince Andrew, may join Queen Elizabeth for the event. But one royal commentator has claimed the Duke is likely to be kept out of the public eye for now. And see, that's what it really is, folks. It's just for now. What they're hoping is that this all blows over. What they're hoping is that this all goes away. They hope that Prince Andrew at some point can have his image rehabilitated and that he can be inserted back into so-called polite society. Boy, are they in for a big surprise. Prince Andrew is said to be the Queen's favorite son, but continues to be dogged by the scandal surrounding his friendship with convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, who took his own life, allegedly, while awaiting trial on child sex trafficking charges in New York last August. That just scratches the surface. If he just had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and they were just friends and he was just being used as another enabler to give Jeffrey Epstein access to higher society, then it would be one thing. But that is not what we're talking about when we are discussing this moron. The Joe Exotic of the Windsor family is credibly being accused of taking part in the sex trafficking portion of Jeffrey Epstein's operation. He wasn't just sitting around slugging some cold ones or getting a foot massage watching the Crown movie. No. No. So don't try and paint him like he's just a Jeffrey Epstein associate. That is not the case. There are people like that, no doubt about it. But we need to be very clear with who we are dealing with whenever we are speaking about players within this case. There is no room for nonsense. Now, Andrew, his problems aren't just about the relationship with Epstein. If that was the case, he would survive this. He'd be able to survive this if it was just the case of him enabling Jeffrey Epstein or being friends with Jeffrey Epstein. But that is not what we're looking at here. This is a whole different portion of that entirely. What Virginia has said occurred and what has been corroborated by flight logs, other witnesses, and other people is abhorrent. And this man must face justice. This man, and I use the word loosely, cannot be allowed to wrap himself in the shield of his disgusting royal blood to avoid charges and scrutiny within this case. It cannot be allowed. Prince Andrew addressed his links to Epstein in a TV interview with the BBC's Emily Maitlis on Newsnight last November, the fallout from which prompted him to step back for the foreseeable future. Yeah, well, what do you think was going to happen? You came into that interview not prepared for what was coming your way. What he probably thought was that he was going to be able to steamroll Emily Maitlis because the BBC has always, for the most part, been pretty light when it comes to the monarchs, right? Now, this interview occurs and it's a whole different ballgame. Maitlis asked him a lot of hard questions and put him on the spot. And Andrew, never one to disappoint, stepped right into it. You know, like when you watch like the old Three Stooges shows, and they'd be, messing around, and one would step on a broom and it would come up and whack him right in the face. That's exactly what happened to Andrew in this interview. He really stepped in it, folks. He thought he was a lot smarter than he is. He thought he was going to be able to go into that interview and control the narrative. What he found out is A, he was not controlling any narratives, and B, he is not as smart as he thought he was. The interview was deemed a disaster by royal experts and everybody else who watched it, let's be real, with former Buckingham Palace press officer Dickie Arbiter describing the exchange as excruciating and prompted charities and organizations linked to the Duke to sever ties with him in their droves. And anytime there is even just a hint of this kind of stink on somebody who's involved in charities and involved in so-called polite life, the rest of the sickos will try and distance themselves from him, like they're not just as bad, like they wouldn't be exposed if the spotlight was put on them. That is how I feel about all of polite society at this point, folks. If you're running around in those circles, those billionaire circles, you are suspect in my opinion. You are certainly up to something illegal. I'm sorry that I have to look at things that way, but they have caused this. The so-called elite in this country should always be looked at skeptically. Anything that they're telling us should be vetted stringently because our well-being is not their priority. On November 20th, Prince Andrew released an unprecedented statement announcing the Queen had given her permission for him to step back from public duties for the foreseeable future. So basically, we watched a grown-ass 60-year-old man get grounded by his mom. How pathetic. In the statement, he added, "I continue to unequivocally regret my ill-judged association with Jeffrey Epstein. His suicide, allegedly, has left many unanswered questions, particularly for his survivors, and I deeply sympathize with everyone who has been affected and wants some form of closure." Yeah? You do, huh? You're so worried about it, right? Have you reached out to any of the survivors? Have you come forward and talked to the authorities like you said you were going to do? Joe Exotic of the Windsor family? Of course you haven't, because guess what? The profile has been built at this point, okay? You're a liar, you're deceitful, and you are untrustworthy. And from where I'm sitting, everything Virginia Roberts says about you is true. The onus is on you to disprove it at this point. For years and years and years, everybody was against the survivors, and all of you in polite society laughed about it, and, they'd never be able to prove anything type of deal. Well, here we are. Now the shoe is on the other foot. And now you, Prince Andrew and your friends, the rest of you predators, now you have become the prey. He added, "I can only hope that in time they will be able to rebuild their lives. Of course, I am willing to help any appropriate law enforcement agency with their investigations if required." You're a liar, okay? Nobody believes you. Nobody. They don't believe you in Nevada. They don't believe you in New York. They don't believe you in California, and they do not believe you in Montana. They don't believe you in England, and they do not believe you in Spain. The penguins in Antarctica don't believe you, and neither do the polar bears in the Great North. Nobody believes you, Prince Andrew. Since then, Prince Andrew has appeared beside the Queen on only one occasion. He attended church with her at Sandringham in January, just after Meghan Markle and Prince Harry announced their bombshell decision to step down as senior royals. While the Queen may like to see her son as she marks her official birthday, one royal commentator has claimed his presence at the pared-back parade is highly unlikely. Well, yeah, why would he appear? Why would his mom even want him to appear with her in public? If you want to go celebrate with your disgusting-ass Joe Exotic son, go ahead and do it in private. But the public doesn't need to see it. You don't need to rub that in the face of the survivors anymore, okay? Royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams told Express.co.uk had the trooping gone ahead on Horse Guards as it has in every year except 1955 when it was cancelled due to a rail strike, Prince Andrew, who has stepped down from royal duties, would not have attended. He has remained Colonel of the Grenadier Guards. However, after his catastrophic interview with Emily Maitlis about his involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, the deceased sex offender and financier, pedophile, he has stepped down from royal duties in disgrace. Mr. Fitzwilliams claims the Queen has turned a tough year for the monarchy around and emerged as a symbol of unity amid the coronavirus crisis. Of course she has. That's all these people do. It's all about their public face. It's all about trying to gaslight the public into believing that they care about them. They do not. All of so-called polite society does not give a rip about any of you. Me, you, your brother, your mother, your aunt, your uncle, and it's quite apparent by the way they conduct themselves. I don't care what kind of BS comes out of their mouths. Words are wind. It is the way they conduct themselves. If Prince Andrew was my son, forget it. Protecting him with allegations such as these? I'd be dragging him down to the FBI office by his ear in Italian fashion, and that's after I beat his ass with the wooden spoon. This is just unbelievable. His mom really should be stepping in here and turning this dude in, right? Do the right thing, Queenie. He said the monarchy had a tough year until relatively recently. During the pandemic, it has become a symbol of national unity, which is its main function in a crisis. Oh, please, give me a break. I mean, English folks out there, are you turning to the monarchy right now in your time of disparity? Are you turning to the monarchy to help you through the pandemic? Of course you aren't. That's just ridiculous. As the country gradually returns to a form of normality, Andrew should be seen as little as possible. If not, he will at least, while so many questions regarding his friendship with Epstein remain unanswered, be the focus of attention when he appears, and he will continue to be a serious embarrassment for the royal family. I really don't like how they just talk about his relationship and friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. What's wrong with these people? Let's talk about what he really is. Let's talk about the monster that he really is. Let's talk about what he did to Virginia Roberts. How is that not the prominent problem? How is not the thing that you're really freaking out about? Friendship with Epstein's one thing. It's gross, disgusting, and I'm very open about how I feel as far as the enablers go. But this is a different level of scumbaggery, folks. This is a different level of involvement. And the fact that he is not called out every single day about his involvement with Jeffrey Epstein in the sex trafficking portion of this of this criminal enterprise is beyond disgusting. Prince Andrew is spending lockdown at the Royal Lodge in Great Windsor Park with his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson, daughter Princess Eugenie, and son-in-law Jack Brooksbank. His eldest daughter, Princess Beatrice, 31, was due to marry Eduardo Mapelli Mosey on May 29th, but the royal wedding was called off amid the pandemic. So, this guy is hunkering down at Buckingham Palace, or at his little portion of Buckingham Palace, and meanwhile, he still hasn't answered any questions. He still hasn't come forward. He still hasn't done anything that he said he was going to do in that interview. So why should anyone cut him some slack in an article? This article should have mentioned Virginia Roberts' name 10 times. Every single one of them should mention her name that many times to drive the point home. This is a situation where the pressure must be kept on. The fact that Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew were more than friends must be driven home. And Andrew has nobody else but himself to blame. All right? You're sad about your relationship with Jeffrey Epstein? Really, dude? That's why you flew over there and spent time with him to supposedly break up with him? Nobody's buying any of it. And Prince Andrew is really, really feeling the heat right now, folks. And I'm telling you, the second that arrests start to happen and people start spilling the beans, Prince Andrew is not going to be able to sleep because he knows that people out there know exactly what occurred. He knows that there are other people who have bodies to where maps to where the bodies are buried. And he knows that there are people who have keys to the skeletons in the closet. And as this all starts to unfold, I am very curious to see just how high the heat is turned up on Prince Andrew. If you'd like to contact me, you could do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All right, everybody, I will be back later on tonight with the Daily Drop. I hope you all enjoy your Friday afternoon. And if you all have plans to go out tonight and start to get back to real life, please, like usual, no drinking and driving. And most importantly, try and have some fun.